Good morning, everybody. Glad to be here with you this Saturday morning. My name is Ed Samuel. I'm a career coach with a firm called Sam Manova. We're based in Kennett Square, PA, and serve clients in the greater Philadelphia area and across the U.S. I thought I'd do something that would start a yearly tradition on the program. I want to talk about resolutions and what you can do in 2020 when it comes to your career and the best way to optimize it in 2020. I'm going to hit on some resolutions for those in job transition, those who might be stuck, in their life or career, maybe not sure what to do next, and those who are working, and even those who are retired but itching to get back to work and do something new. So I'm really trying to touch, all bases with some of these resolutions. Now, I'm going to try to do my best to get through about 13. We'll see how we do this morning, and I'll try to do my best to limit my commentary on each one. But as those who might know me or have heard me before, I'm not short of giving my opinion, and I'm certainly not bashful about it. So here we go. We're going to start with resolution number 1. I want to ask a question, and the question is, are you sure as to what you want to do next in your career and life? Are you not sure? And if you need help, what are you going to do to get help? And this resolution is, if you're not proof positive that you know what to do next, I'd encourage you to do a career assessment with a certified career consultant. And let that consultant either confirm your direction, give you options to consider, and it may bring you to a whole nother place. You may need to pivot your career in all ways. And the whole purpose of this resolution is to just make sure that at some point, you never go back 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now and say, you know what? I wish I had known. I wish I had done something different. Make a resolution in 2020 to do a career assessment if you're not sure what your direction should be. Now, resolution number 2, especially for those 55 or greater. And I just finished a program a few weeks back on the topic of age discrimination. But whether you're in job transition or whether you're working for a company, I've seen it in both cases, 55 plus, stay current in some line of work that you do and make sure you're current and active in some way. So my best example would be take a leading edge certification class. Some people have taken project management profession, become a project management professional, a PMP as an example. Get your green belt in lean. It can make all the difference when in a job market. And it really combats the age bias that's out there. As soon as you become current, some of it starts to fade away because you are current. But I've also seen people that are in jobs for 20 years, and they're working, and they meet with me and they say, hey, Ed, what else is out there? And then I look at their background, I look at what they're current at, and they really have taken no training for the last 18 years in anything. They're not prepared for the job market if they were to lose their job. They're not even prepared to advance their career with another firm because they're not staying current. So resolution number 2, stay current in something within the field that you're in. Okay, resolution number 3, have your resume reviewed by a career coach and ask for critical feedback. And if you need to, don't be afraid to revamp it, even rewrite it. And certainly don't give it to someone who's just going to give you some really casual, very superficial comments. Even in a tight job market like we have today, you still need to compete. And a great resume will simply get you far more looks than a so-so one. And of course, at Sam Nova, we do free resume evaluations, but the point being is let people give it a critical review and make sure it's always a third party, somebody who's going to give you some objective feedback. Resolution number 4. This one goes back to whether you're interviewing or whether you're meeting somebody in a casual setting. It might be somebody of influence, might be the owner of a company, but they ask you a question, and the question is, so tell me about yourself. It's imperative that you give a tight, focused answer, and my recommendation, try to give your entire life story in 2 minutes and 15 seconds. That's it, the whole thing, all in that tight time frame. And the reason that's so important is that, I can tell you, I have documented testimonials from client after client who've told me that because of their practice of that answer and keeping it tight when that question's asked, they believe that was the singular reason that they ended up getting the job, especially during final round interviews. Being with more senior people, your ability to be concise and be able to tell your story in that type of concise time frame, it speaks loudly in terms of how you get viewed. So resolution number 4, if someone was to ask you, so tell me about yourself, make sure you have that nailed down. And again, not just for interviewing, because you could make the same mistake in casual networking or running into a person that might be a decision maker that could affect your career. Okay, resolution number 5. If you're working, please, I beg you, to have another source of income. And that excludes your spouse or significant other's income. That doesn't count. Now, I did a 3-part series on this radio program a year plus ago, and I outlined on each one of those segments ways you can go about getting additional income of some form or the other. And my whole thrust of that program was to drive home a point to everyone, especially those who are working, that never put yourself in a position with a manager, a person you work for, no matter how much of a mentor they've been to you. Your firm or your organization or your department, do not put 100% of your emotional and financial state into that firm or organization or person. You're setting yourself up. And the reason I feel so strongly about this is I've met with so many people over the years who thought that, hey, I'm sitting pretty, everything's fine, I'm all in with this company, this boss. Then all of a sudden, a week or two later, a month later, hey, Ed, I got some bad news. I was just let go. Out of nowhere, I got tapped on the shoulder on a Friday or a Monday. Those seem to be the dates that happens. And and I'm walking to my car and completely feel like it's been a sucker punch. And you have nothing to fall back on, nothing. And remember, 50% of America, they don't get a severance. At least 50%, they will never see a severance. And you have nothing to fall back on. And I've seen it happen when a new boss comes in. You work for a company. I've seen my clients work for companies for 15 years, 20 years, 25 years, worked for the same person or people that they love. New boss comes in. They don't like the way you smile. They don't like something about you. Next thing you know, you're in a different department. Next thing you know, that department's downsized and you're out of a job. And then you have nothing to fall back on. So getting another source of income, there's multiple ways to do it. I encourage you to look up my podcast on that subject on this radio station on Optimize Your Career. And I think you'll find it fascinating. But get another source of income. And it doesn't have to be a full-time affair. I'm talking about even if it's just a few hours a week. That's resolution number 5. All right, on to resolution number 6. Be current in social media. Mainly LinkedIn and Twitter. They're tied to, the business and the focus of careers. 75% of decisions are being made to recruit and find people on LinkedIn. If you don't have a LinkedIn profile, you're not being looked at and you're really, really hurting yourself. But if somebody does find you on LinkedIn, it's got to be your best representation as to who you are from a branding standpoint. And by the way, this also includes anybody out there who's a sole entrepreneur or even a small business owner. And even in that case, if you're a small business owner or entrepreneur, then Facebook and Instagram, you add that to the fray. But the larger concern, especially for those in job transition or even those employed, you want to be viewed as current and not dated. And when I look at a LinkedIn profile, I could tell people who are working and everything's going great. And I know that LinkedIn has not been reviewed by a career coach or somebody with a critical review. I could spot it a mile away. I encourage people to get that social media current, get that network firmed up. And it's especially true if you're 50, 55, 60, 65, 70 years of age, and you're looking to stay in the job market. Again, being current in social media, mainly LinkedIn and Twitter, make that a resolution. And it's another great way for people 50 and above to combat the age bias that's out there. Because if they see that you're current in social media, then you might be current in a lot of other things that you bring to the table. Okay, resolution number 7. We're going to take a little kind of a left turn here. If you know of a son or a daughter, niece, nephew, anybody who's in high school, whether they're a sophomore, a junior, or senior, and you hear the words, they're not sure what they want to do, have them do an exhaustive career assessment with a certified and experienced career consultant. And here's one reason you should do it. Not just for the benefit of, okay, my daughter or son, they know what they want to do, but there's a risk. And the risk is 28% of first-year college students change their majors. And when they change their majors, that's a $12,000 to $14,000 ouch that someone's paying for. Now, if you want to reduce that risk for a son or daughter or somebody that you know, have them do a career assessment and do it with a certified consultant. And certainly, I have a team of people here that I lead that do career assessments in this region and around the U.S. That would love to help you. And the cost is minor in the context of what is at stake for these young people looking to find out what their future holds. And be very careful for free assessment tools, because I will tell you unequivocally, free has its own costs. So be very careful. And we've done countless assessments, and we have many, many success stories from sons and daughters that have gone through these types of assessments with certified coaches to get their direction right. So that's resolution number 7. Okay, resolution number 8. This is one that I just, I could spend, I think an entire program on, but be prepared. If you're interviewing for a role, be prepared to tell people who you really are. I often say, one of the biggest mistakes that are made in interviews is not what is said, but is what you don't say is the reason you won't get the job. I'm a big fan of making no apologies in terms of who you are. And if you were asked this pointed question, what are 4 things that this firm or your future boss really needs to know about you? Can you truly answer that question forthright? And I've asked many, many of people. I look right at them and I say, look, give me 4 reasons why, what makes you you, and what's been the basis of your success. And I could tell you, if you hesitate 3 seconds, 4 seconds, 5 seconds, 6 seconds before giving me an answer, you better fix that as soon as possible. Because I'm a big believer that, you're made in a certain way and you have these great gifts and talents and skills. But who you are has been, the big reason you've been successful. And you want to be able to let people know that clearly. So at the end of the interview, people get together and they say, well, what do you think of Jim? What do you think of Sue? What are they going to bring to the table? And if they can't clearly get those 4 things from you, then you better go back and sharpen the saw in terms of how you interview. So resolution number 8, be prepared to tell somebody exactly 4 things about you that make you you, and that doesn't change from interview to interview. This is about who you are, not for what you want them to hope to think you are. And again, longer conversation, but be ready for that. That's resolution number 8. Now, resolution number 9, this sounds so simple, but you'd be surprised of how many people don't have one. And that's have a personal business card. And if you're working, have a personal business card, not only a work card. If you work for a big company or you work for a small company and you've worked for them for a number of years, most people I'll run into, I say, hey, can you come to a networking event we're having? Great. Do you have a personal business card? And they'll look at me and say, well, no, I have my work card. So what happens if I had a great opportunity and I wanted to, reach back out to you in confidence? What card would you give them? Well, you run the risk if you give them your work card and they make the mistake of emailing or calling you at work. But have that personal email on that personal business card and some information about you so that it's much more than just an email and phone number, but something to really give them some insight in terms of what you bring to the table. And if you're really into networking, then you're going to run into people and they're going to say, hey, do you have a card? And then if there's an opportunity there and it's outside your current company, that personal business card can make all the difference. So resolution number 9, make sure you have a personal business card and make sure it's updated even if you're working. And certainly it's paramount if you're unemployed and looking for a job. Now, resolution number 10, have a resume that's ready that you could send to a potential hiring manager that is the best overall representation of who you are. And I say, damn the applicant tracking system in this particular case. I don't care about it. What I do care about is that if I ran into a vice president, a director, someone who I thought was a hiring manager or decision maker, and I wanted to basically send them something about you, what resume would you send them? And at best have a title up top, and at best show your best representation and a very sharp, clear, focused resume. And again, I'm not worrying about it getting through an applicant tracking system. That's a different resume for a different purpose. What I am worried about is you providing your best showing to someone, and that resume best have a header up top with a specific title in terms of that really represents the best fit for who you are. That's not to say that you can't do other things, but that type of a resume is one that I'm a big fan of. I based my most recent book on that type of resume. So let's move to resolution number 11. Get in the mode of building your formal network with everyone that you meet and make it second nature, and do it on LinkedIn. I'm not a fan of cherry picking your network person by person. And I'm only going to, talk to people who I have coffee with. And yeah, you can do that. But I'm just here to tell you that when your network is large, you have more to leverage. You can target in a much more effective basis. If your network is small and tiny, you just have less to leverage. When I give a talk about networking, I talk about the 90% rule of networking, and that's 90% of the time, the person that's going to hire you will not be the person you're directly connected to on LinkedIn. It will be the people that they're connected to. And even third level connections, they're going to be the people that will be hiring you. So if you don't follow that thought process, you could cherry pick and you start to get lazy in terms of how you network. I'm just a big believer. Make 2020 a year where every person you meet, ask for their business card. Every person you meet, stack up the business cards. I don't care if you're working. I don't care if you're unemployed. Keep those business cards in a pile, and then once a week, sit down and connect with every single person there, because you never know who they're connected with. And that could be the person that reaches out to you for an opportunity of a lifetime. And it's all because of how you've approached networking. So resolution number 11, connect with everybody and do it often and make it no different than brushing your teeth in the morning. Resolution number 12, And this is one, if you've ever heard me speak, and I've spoken, I think this is my number one or number two most requested topic to speak on, and that's having to do with recruiters. Resolution number 12, never give a recruiter a list of your references. Don't. It's not in your best interest. They don't need a list to represent you. In fact, most, especially contingency recruiters, they don't even need any to represent you. Now, and the reason for that is most of the time, it comes back to hurt you way more than help you. And it certainly, it really damages your reputation with your references itself. Now, I talk to this in detail when I speak about, the good and the bad and the ugly of recruiting at events that I speak at. But all I can do for you on this program is say this. If a recruiter asks you for a list of references, call me. Find me on LinkedIn, get my number, call me, and I'll advise you free of cost as to what to do next and how to respond to that recruiter. So here we are, resolution number 13. And I'm asked a question. I was interviewed this past year on radio more than any other time in my entire, really, since I've been doing career coaching. And a question I'm asked at the end of almost every interview. So, Ed, what's the number one recommendation you have to help people manage, advance their career? And my answer is, if you are employed, if you are working, and everything's going great, hire a career coach. Don't wait until you're tapped on the shoulder. Don't wait until your company gets bought. Don't wait until, your spouse loses their job. Don't wait. Hire a career coach. And you're going to find when you're working and you hire a career coach that I would say 70% of what you're going to learn by a good career coach, you're going to be able to apply those same learnings internally to advance your career. And I'll give you a statistic at Sam Nova. And this is a real statistic. For every 20 people we help who are working, in other words, they're at their company, they're working, 75% of them end up being promoted at their firm. And that's because they'll attribute it to better resume, better interviewing, better salary negotiation, better branding, better networking, and the list goes on. So if you are working and you're listening to this program, or if you're unemployed and you go back to work, 6 months later, hire a career coach to keep you sharp. And it doesn't have to be costly. It would be, a few hours every 3 or 4 months. Okay. I'll throw in one more for good measure. Resolution number 14. I didn't think I would get there, but I'm going to say it. I want you to ask yourself a question. Resolution number 14. Are you fully employed? ? Another, are you underemployed ? And all I'm going to say to this is that if you're not sure of the answer to either of those questions, talk to a career coach to help you. And look, in the end, is your boss, your leader, is your company, organization doing everything they can to keep you there and keep you motivated and keep you moving forward? Or are they pushing you around like a pawn in a chess game? I've seen too many companies and organizations mistreat their employees, and especially horrible, horrible bosses. So ask yourself the question, get a career coach, and they could help you out of that. Now, as I conclude the program today, I'm going to hit on a few things. For those of you new to our program, I recently published my first book this year called Optimize Your Resume, The Do's and Don'ts of the Sam Nova Way. It's available on Amazon. You'll see all the reviews. All of them have been favorable. Knock on wood. You're here simple, practical, to the point, useful. But it's my way of trying to help many, many more people optimize their career who might not be able to hire a career coach. And by the way, I'm already working on my next book, due out fall of 2020. Now, in January, I'll be co-leading a 90-minute LinkedIn optimization webinar with my friend and colleague, Brooke Miles from Delaware Shoutout, a true marketing whiz. After the webinar, Brooke and I we'll be holding individual consultation sessions. The fee is $185, but you do need to pre-register. It's open to both people in job transition, those who own sole entrepreneurs, people who are working, and small business owners. The workshops will be held on January 15th and 16th during the day. And best way to get information on finding more about these workshops is go to my LinkedIn page at Ed Samuel, and you'll see in one of my upcoming postings some information to register. So we're just about out of time. Hope you enjoyed the resolutions for 2020, and perhaps you might add a few of them to your 2020 resolution list. Join me again on the next Optimize Your Career program, Saturday, January 18th. We'll be kicking off a new series called Career Spotlight and learn from those who made what we call a career pivot or a decision that has made all the difference in their life and career. This is Ed Samuel, career coach with Sam Nova. Our website is www.samnovainc.com, samnovainc.com. If you want to reach me with a question, please do so at esamuel@samnovainc.com or call the main number at 610-274-8214. Make it a blessed weekend. Wishing you a great new year in 2020. God bless.